You know, for a while we've known that obviously Chantel wanted to get a best reduction. In fact, we saw that in the last season of 90 Day Diaries. And then she returned again for this season's 90 Day Diaries as well, where she continued the journey of getting the best reduction and also further explaining why she wanted to get one. But also on top of that, we also understand that Chantel is now a lesbian, okay, and she's now engaged to her fiance Ashley. But when it comes to her mother Karen, her mother hasn't exactly been a big fan of their relationship. In fact, not even has the father been as well. So in this week's episode of 90 Day Diaries, we definitely get to find a little bit more about the relationship between Chantel and her parents regarding her relationship with Ashley, as well as, of course, the reasons behind her best reduction. So let's get into the nitty and gritty.
I have a size L, boobs, which are, by the way, 100% natural, and 12 hours a day on her feet. My back is killing me. I feel like I'm always sexualized or not taken seriously because of my big boobs. And they call.
Listen, first and foremost, I can completely understand. Well, I mean, obviously, I can't relate, but I can understand. You know, obviously, having big breasts and how they can take a toll on your back, because that's something that I've definitely come across with previous partners who've also been in the same position where they've wanted to get a reduction because of the fact that these babies are always causing, which, to be fair, respectfully, it makes a lot of sense why she wants to get it. But also on top of that, it isn't exactly fair to be a woman to be sexualized because of natural assets that you have. You know, I feel like there's a big difference between a woman that has ones that are now, well, ones that are fake compared to ones that are real. When they're fake, you're kind of putting yourself in a position where you're going to be sexualized, especially if you're going to wear them out the way Darcy and Stacey does. Now, of course, there are some women out there that they can have fake ones, but they can still cover them up. You barely see any cleavage, so therefore it stops that, you know, sexualization type stuff. But to be fair though, should a woman be sexualized just because of the way she dresses? Well, I guess that one's a quite a subjective question, so I'll let you be the decider of that one. But when it comes to Chantel, she's somebody, well, naturally speaking, what the hell was she going to do? And I can imagine it would have been very hard for her to find clothes that were always either going to cover up and ones that wasn't going to necessarily expose too much per se. So she was in a situation where really and truly, unfortunately, she was going to be circularized regardless of X, Y, Z, which again makes more sense why it wouldn't be fair on her. But also on top of that, and also on top of that, being able to work 12-hour shifts, walking up and down in a hospital, oh boy. That lower back, I can imagine. But either way, though, it does make sense, and it's good that she made this choice. But now let's get into how did this all come about when it came to choosing who was going to be in the waiting room for her between her now fiance and her parents. Yeah.
My mom to talk to her about Ashley and her being at the surgery, and I told her that I don't want her to come to the hospital and she was not happy about it at all. But I can't risk having any unforeseen drama.
I can understand her obviously not wanting to risk having unforeseen drama and whatnot. And to be fair, I've always said that when it comes to a choice between your birth family, the family that raised you, compared to the person that you're looking to build a family with, realistically, you should always pick the person that you're looking to build a family with, because they have to know that they are a priority. They have to know that they are always going to matter more when it comes to big moments in your life, whether it's giving childbirth, you know what I mean, whether I guess it's surgery or whatever. So Chantel wasn't wrong for picking Ashley in any shape or form. This is something that the parents obviously should really, really, truly understand. And to be fair, because of the dynamic and the unhealthy relationship between the family and Ashley, it was going to be more and more important for Chantel to pick Ashley. So Ashley knew that Chantel was invested in them. Do you know what I mean? She wasn't going to be afraid to be invested because she was afraid of the reactions of family. So it was a good move for her. But the mother, on the other hand, and the father, listen, they're just gonna have to live. They're just gonna have to live with it.
FaceTime my mom. Do you mind if I do that right now? And now, I don't know if my mom's going to show up spontaneously in the waiting room and getting in a fight with Ashley while I'm under anesthesia. I don't know what kind of mess I'm gonna wake up to. It's been 3 days.
First and foremost, I found it very wild, very unhealthy that she had to ask permission from Ashley to be able to bring her own parents inside of the hospital when she's about to go underneath surgery. I mean, listen, yes, there is a dynamic that is unhealthy between your parents and your woman, but no one should be ever in a position where they should ask permission to have to ring their family members. If anything, ring anyone. But then again, sometimes things can be a bit subjective. Sometimes you may want to ask if you want to ring maybe your partner's parents, your partner's friends, or someone that maybe you know is, an issue, then yes. But when your family are an issue, I think you should still be able to ring them regardless of asking permission. You can notify your partner and say, hey, just so you know, I'm about to ring so and so. That is completely fine. But saying, hey, is it okay if I ring my mother, my father? Yeah, that's wild. That's not cool. That is not cool. But at the same time, though, that may not be because that's something that Ashley has installed in a relationship. This could just be the fact that Chantel is uncomfortable with the relationship, so therefore she's automatically thought, oh, I better ask permission to ring because I don't want to annoy my fiance or fiancée, shall I say. If that's the case, still, again, when you're in that mindset, you have to be like, nah, I can't do that. Let me not do that. Let me still go about as I would normally, because again, it's not healthy. But let's continue.
Since surgery, and I'm having my mom and dad over because they haven't seen me this whole time I've been recovering. Ashley wasn't ready to be in the same room as my mom, so she went out for a very long walk.
It's crazy, isn't it? How long is it going to take until these two can come around and be on the same page? To be fair, I do understand the mother's frustrations, but before I get into that, let's see what goes on in this little meeting.
It seemed like there was too much friction between the idea of having you and Ashley. Like, you attacked Ashley at the tell-all, and what Ashley tells me is that it hurt her so badly because she felt like you guys were really friends.
Let's get into this bit here. Ashley is butthurt with the fact that, Chantel's mother, Karen, is not a fan of her. And at the tell-all, she was really that hurt that it... Okay, cool. Right, here's the thing, folks. I can understand the frustrations from the mother, because you're dealing with somebody that came in your lives, began being friends with River, then all of a sudden became friends with the mum, and then all of a sudden ends up being friends, then starts dating the daughter. And I don't know if what I'm about to say next, I don't know if this is accurate, but also she was a producer on the 90 Day Show, or at least for TLC. So which means to me that maybe Ashley started to make relations with this family throughout the time they met from the TLC connection. And it does look as if Ashley worked her ranks up. It's as if she potentially had Chantel in her sights from the very beginning. Because here's the thing, folks, okay? Now, I don't want to offend anyone, but this is a common term that I hear online all the time. So I'm assuming it's a thing in America, but I believe that Ashley is somebody that is referred to as a stud. And from what I've seen from these videos, and again, my perception is based on what I've seen online. So I know it's not potentially factual, right? Sometimes you see things online and they're portrayed that way for a certain reason. So I'm not ignoring it. But based on what I've seen online, regarding the stud community, what I will say is that I've noticed, and it has been said, that they do target women, straight women, trying to pretty much convince them to come the other way. The same way gay men also try and target straight men, and obviously bring them their way. You see what I'm saying? So for me personally, did Ashley, the stud, the whole time really have this plan to get Chantel at some point? Who knows? Maybe it wasn't a plan to begin with, because to begin with she would have been a Pedro. Maybe once she saw that her and Pedro was done, maybe that's when she thought, yeah, I'm gonna start doing my thing. Because I want me a little bit of Chantel tell. I mean, listen, we never know for sure, but with some of the stereotypical things that you hear about certain people and from certain communities, sometimes those stereotypical things from certain communities can be real. So the question is she the typical stud that targets straight women and, shoots her shot? Because remember, sometimes in life, some people love to play the long game. But let's continue. Let me know your thoughts on that one, please.
An apology. No, I don't owe her nothing. She's a bigger person. I am. She's very funny. Displaced emotions about Pedro towards Ashley. I'm seeing the same patterns in you. In me? As I did with my failed marriage. Look at Pedro that scammed you to get into this country.
There is similar to the same situation that someone is trying to look for a come up.
The same situation towards me. I brought you presents, and you're up here talking about like that.
You know what I don't like about this conversation when Chantel brings up, oh, I'm seeing the same patterns of you, obviously trying to sabotage or ruin my relationship the same way you did with marriage with Pedro. Does Chantel forget that she's the one that lied to her parents? Does Chantel forget that here's the thing, everything that went down with Pedro and the whole thing about him being a scammer and whatnot, that was all Chantel was doing. Because people forget that Chantel was the one that told Pedro that we cannot tell my parents the truth of who you are in my life. She's the one that came up with the whole plan of saying that you're here on a student visa. You know what I mean? Pedro was the one that was saying, no, let's be honest. Let's tell them that I'm here on a K1 visa. Let's tell them that I'm here because me and you obviously plan to get married. Let's tell them the truth. Chantel insisted, no, And Chantel said, no, I don't want to tell them the truth because, well, to be fair, the reason why she didn't want to say the truth is because she was afraid the family was going to accuse him of using their daughter for a visa, which, to be fair, she wasn't wrong. But here's the thing, though. If you know the family's going to accuse you of that anyway, and then you decide to lie, does she not realize that's going to make things worse? Point being is that she talks about how the family's the one that ruined the relationship, but Chantel, you ruined it from the very beginning. You decided to lie. See, if she had told the truth in the very beginning and the family still behaved the way they behaved, 100%, you're putting the blame on the mother, the father, you name it, you did it. But the fact that it started off as a lie, that changes the course of things. It changes how things began. It changes who was the one that triggered them to be in that position in the first place. So yeah, let's not forget that. So while the parents are sitting there and they're also saying that, you know, well, I'm seeing the same pattern in Ashley than I'm seeing in Pedro. The only difference is, though, is that the pattern they saw in the Pedro relationship was based on a lie, and that was based on Chantel's lie. But what they're seeing in this relationship based on Ashley isn't based on a lie. This is based on what they've actually witnessed. They've actually witnessed this woman come in their family, be friends with so-and-so, be friends with so-and-so, and then all of a sudden now playing victim, and now all of a sudden saying, hey, I want to marry your freaking daughter without asking your permission. So I can see why the family would believe that this woman is only in it for the fame. It doesn't mean that she's in it for the fame, but what I'm saying is the perception the family has now is based on accurate information. Before, it was based on information that was altered by their own freaking child. And to be fair, even that annoys me that even till this day, the parents don't ever sit there and say, you know what, maybe Pedro was never the issue. Maybe it was actually our daughter lying to us to begin with. But they like to behave as if Pedro was the one that lied to them, which is absolutely crazy because for them, they believe that their daughter could never lie to them. And if their daughter's going to lie to them, their daughter would only lie to them because Pedro would have convinced her to lie to them, which is something that we never ever witnessed. Anyway.
You and Ashley might deserve each other, and I'm not saying that in any way.
Family, but I don't want them to ruin another one of my relationships. I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if you know that you want to be with your fiancée, okay, and you know that obviously Ashley is your woman, the person that you want to be with the rest of your life, then listen, proceed however you see fit. Simple as that. It doesn't matter what anyone else says, you do what you gotta do. But that's something I guess we'll see over time. Right now, they seem to be going strong. So let's see obviously how long they go strong for. There's one thing that I do know, well, that I've also come across, is that when it comes to the stud community, loyalty isn't necessarily one of their better traits. But also when it comes to just the lesbian community in general, if you look it up, the numbers don't lie. Highest rate in infidelity. Also highest rate in divorce as well. Yeah, let that one sink in. But with that being said, but if I have any of my information incorrect, please do feel free to educate me down below, okay? Because yeah, most of the things that I do say are usually from experiences, and know what I'm saying, but this is more based on what I've seen. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.